Hi, I'm Sluggy and welcome to my channel, Wheels and Whisky. Join me as I visit distilleries within easy riding distance from a local train station, enjoy new scenery and maybe a wee nip from my hip flask. The routes I use will always be linked in the description for others to try themselves. Welcome to Wheels and Whisky. I'm Sluggy and this is the 4th episode in the series Whisky Trails. As you can see, we're at Dunkeld and Birnam station in Perthshire. Today's journey is about 60 kilometres. We're going to head out to Aberfeldy and then on to Pitlochry, where we'll be doing a whisky tour and tasting. We got off here at this station just to add a few extra kilometres onto the route. You can actually get off at Pitlochry and go along the river, nice little trail, but we're going back that way, so you'll see it on the way back after we go to Aberfeldy. But I just want to add a few more miles on and enjoy a bit more of the Scottish scenery. So let's go. First things first, let's grab a coffee. And a nice wee coffee to start the day off. On here is part of the cycle network. Great options to get a little bit off-road and get away from the cars and enjoy some of the scenery. Okay, so it starts with a little bit of a climb. In fact, most of it is a bit of a climb out, but I don't think it'll be as steep as this all the way out. At least I hope not. There's not much to see apart from trees and the little river. I seem to be crossing over regularly. As long as I don't hit a few hills. Let me just tell you about my mother journey. So I think it was my Deanston visit where I talked a bit about my journey to end up cycling. Quick recap, I started off many years ago being unfit, overweight, took up running, did a few marathons and then decided wholeheartedly to go to a triathlon and train for an Ironman, and eventually done an Ironman Wales in 2019. And now, after a few years of laziness and overindulgence, try to get back on my bike and enjoy the countryside and get fit at the same time. But my journey into whisky links into that though. A few years ago I joined a running group called Clyde Runners. Great group based around at Killook and Wishaw, and we used to get running regularly, and as you would sort of pair up with people and run alongside them, and so I would talk to them about various things. So one of my running buddies, Eddie, was sharing with me the fact that he started to get into whisky, and must admit I told him like probably similar story to everybody else. I remember one New Year in my father-in-law's house, sort of taking a whisky for New Year's. First other time actually trying a whisky and really not liking it. But because at that time he was my to-be father-in-law, I drank it down and smiled. But that really slowed me off whisky for a good number of years, and there's only when I started talking to Eddie and he shared with us the fact that he was starting to get into whisky, and him talking about different type styles of whisky and saying the fact that it'll be something that you might enjoy. So I do remember going up to Inverness, and on the way up stopped at, I think it was Fort Augustus, and emailing Eddie through a picture of one of the menus in the hotel that had a good selection of whiskies, and him telling us which ones we should try. So after that, started to buy a few sort of supermarket whiskies, trying them, and also then started to ground a few distilleries like Arn and a few others as well. So over the first year I was really sort of say that I sort of understood what I didn't like. I wasn't really into smoky whiskies at all. A bit like the lighter fruity ones and the sherried ones. Over the years, through going to various whisky tastings and talking to friends and trying different whiskies, my palate has expanded, and one reason for doing these journeys is to go to different distilleries, see what makes them different, and also sample a few whiskies. Birnam there, beautiful landscape, great road, nice cloud cover, a bit too much wind at times, but what more else could you want for? So you could have stayed the main road and went all the way down to Aberfeldy, but commute is in this way, which will take us down to Aberfeldy Distillery. So it's your choice, either you can stay on the main road or you can come off and try a bit more off-road. So let's see where. Welcome to Aberfeldy Distillery. I guess we come in the back door. Let's head round to the shop. Our first stop in the tour is at Dure's Aberfeldy Distillery behind me. Unfortunately, when I planned this route and looked online, they didn't have their tours available, so unfortunately I just turned up. The tours are on, but fully booked, so miss out on that one, but I'll hopefully be back sometime in the near future. This distillery was planned by the Dure's family over 100 years ago in Aberfeldy. The Dure's, you call it, were looking to increase obviously their capacity for their blended spirits, their blended whisky. And they picked Aberfeldy because of the little burn, or the little river that runs through Aberfeldy on towards the River Tay, and they picked it secondly because it was a local distillery to them. So I think John Dure was born about 3 miles from here. On my short video, they'll probably be playing at the same time as hear this voiceover. Dure's do a lot of blended whisky. They're known for their double maturation, where they'll take it out of the one barrel and put it in another barrel for at least 3 years to give it that double maturation, that smooth taste, that sort of honeyed taste which you get off the spirit here. I mean, I quite like the actual Aberfeldy single malts. I've tried a few, both from the distillery and also some SNWS blends, some SNWS bottlings, and really nice bottlings. Although I must admit, when I was inside, I seen a few Craigellachs and I prefer those, obviously both from the same family. But unfortunately, just a short stopover here at Aberfeldy Distillery. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to head into Aberfeldy. There's a bookshop there which I'm going to pop into, maybe find somewhere for lunch before we get back on the road again and head to the distillery where I know I'm going to get a whisky. So, see you on the journey. Picked up some food, a nice butcher's. There's cakes as well, obviously in the cake if you're doing a bike journey. But so just now heading just out of Aberfeldy to find a nice wee spot to sit down and have my lunch before we start on the trail back. This should bring us down to the river. This is a golf course, so I guess the route we're taking is to go over that bridge and then find a bridge further down to cross over again, rather than going through the middle of a golf course. So let's go! Oops, there's a footpath there. I'll give it an adventure through here, down this bridge and over, and then down and along here. And now heading towards Pitlochry. Yeah, rain's on. Went off quite quickly, but I did stop and have a bite to eat, so I guess that's me refreshed. Got my fuel in and I've got a nice gentle ride to Pitlochry. This ride sort of just tends to hug the river mainly. We do think cross over it once or twice. We got into the cycle network for the end of the ride. So, just going to enjoy this after the first half of hills and strong winds. You got to take the good with the bad. I know we start that actually. So this is us on Route 7. Right. A fisherman who says that there's sort of fly fishing only allowed on this river, but it's got salmon, brown trout. I think he also said sea trout is the sort of larger, more popular fish that folk would catch. And you stop in this bridge, it's so narrow, but isn't that gorgeous? Maybe just a push. Oh, but on a other side, and on a slightly more busier bit of road. Sorry for disturbing you.
That's alright.
Is there a bridge down there?
Yeah, it's over there.
How do I get down to it?
So if you just keep on going up here,
Okay.
there's a wee cottage on your left hand side. Take the road that's beside it.
How far is it? Further along? Is it?
200 yards, no, probably quarter of a mile.
Quarter mile. Okay.
And it'll take you down the approach road. With a bit of a wiggle, and it'll take you across the road.
Okay. Thank you for that. I thought it was
Okay. And if you just have a walk into the what am I trying to say? Carport there. There's an information board that will tell you all about the bridge that we're going to put over there in a wee while.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I don't know, I've got a appointment, you call it, at the distillery there for a tour, so I best get on my way. But,
Oh, good. We'll see if David's there. Give him my best. Say Tony says hello.
okay. Afternoon. That's us up Blair Athol. So, Blair Athol sits us here. So, I think somebody's prepared a good coffee. That's us here. Okay. We'll just go and try and find possible. There we go, Blair Athol Distillery and Visitor Centre.
We've been making whiskey in Blair Athol since 1798. We've been making whiskey since 1798 legally, with a license. That's probably when the farmers that were in here were caught red-handed making Yuzgeva on the side without paying the taxes. There is records of whiskey made here on site back to 1742. When it was just a farm, okay? But legal record is 1798 and we're gonna stick to that, okay? It was a very common practice that the farmers will grow the barley and then in winter they will keep always some aside, and with that barley they will make that whiskey, as I say, Yuzgeva. Wasn't whiskey as we know nowadays, but was a very rough spirit that, for example, we can compare with the American moonshine kinds, okay? But well, with that whiskey, they will either keep it to keep themselves warm through winter, or they will sell it because this was the pass, natural pass through the highlands, through Birnam and all Dunkeld. So they will sell it to people passing by and they will make a side business. So as I said, what we make here is a single malt whiskey, and unfortunately you won't see it much in the market, because our Blair Athol single malt is mainly used for blended whiskey. Okay, we are part of Diageo, it's the biggest producer of alcohol in the world, believe it or not, but also owns brands of the size of Johnny Walker, G&B, Swing, well, plenty more, and we contribute also to brands that are not owned by Diageo. Okay, so from the 2.7 million of liters that we produce every year, 99% will be going for blends. That means only 1% is kept as a Blair Athol single malt, and that's what you'll be lucky enough to taste today if you behave, obviously. Okay, only the first ones, 37,000 liters out of 60,000 will be used for fermentation. The rest, as we increase the temperature, as I said, we dissolve all the starch, but the remaining liters are not, don't have the sugar content that we require. So what we do with that water, we hold it back, and when a new batch begins, we use that water first. So that way nothing is lost, nothing goes to waste. And once everything is trained out, the peels, as I said, the shells from the barley, that can't be used. It doesn't have any use for us, but it's very rich in fiber and protein. So that will be collected by the local farmers and is used as a cattle feed. So as you can see, nothing goes to waste. Very ecologic, very practical, very happy cows in Scotland. So well, everything is pumped underneath. There is pipes, and on the way, what we're gonna do, there will be pipes coming with very cold water. That exchange of temperatures is gonna break down this, the temperature, because that is about 60 degrees Celsius. We cannot take it straight away for fermentation. That heat will kill the yeast immediately. So we cool it down to 17, 18 degrees roughly before we can add the yeast. And as I said, once we add the yeast is when the party begins. Okay, so let's see that on the next one. We're gonna start creating the flavors and the characters that we want for our whiskey. So the length of the fermentation is gonna determine some of those flavors already. Okay, so our Blair Athol is well known for being a very nutty and spicy whiskey, and that comes from a short fermentation. It's just over 2 days, 56 hours of fermentation, and that's when we're gonna develop those nutty, like almonds, like walnuts, flavors, and the spiciness of the ginger. Kind of, it's a little bit tingling on the back of your tongue. You'll see that later, trust me. And well, after these 56 hours, we have a very rough beer. It's more like to a brewing rather than whiskey, obviously. But it's 8-9% alcohol, which is good for a beer, but not good enough for a whiskey. To make whiskey, to start thinking about whiskey, we need at least, Blair Athol, 68% alcohol by volume. That's a lot. And there is only one way to get to that point, and it's through distillation. So what we do, we gonna reject head and tail, and we will keep only the heart. As I said, it's the best one we can use to make whiskey. That happens in here. All this is done manually by my colleagues, the operators, the steel men. What they do, they will measure the strength, okay? Head will start running first in this bowl. After 20 minutes or so, when the strength drops from about 90 to 82, they will move this handle and the heart will start coming here. After an hour and a half, more or less, when the strength drops from over under 54-55% strength, then they will move the handle back to this first bowl, and they will start collecting the tail until the seal basically empties oil. So head and tail are mixed, and we don't want to waste it. I said that in here we don't waste anything. We will use that because we're going to mix head and tail with this spirit, 25%, the low wine, and all that once it's mixed is basically alcohol again. It's a spirit, and it goes back into the still. So however it is, from the second distillation, we will keep always the middle part. The fine part is the one we're going to make to use our whiskey. Okay? So once we have that 68% alcohol, now we can start thinking about whiskey. That's the one that's going to become our Blair Athol single malt. This is the water supply we use. As you can see right now, there is not much, so that's why rain is very important to us. We need that rain to make whiskey. But well, basically, the way we do, we have built this small dam. What we do when we are on production during the weekdays, they close the gate, that rise the level, and then we take the water. The water comes from the mountains right at the back, Birnam, and it comes all the way through the mountains. There is no farmlands or properties, nothing that can damage our water. So it's pure spring water, as pure as it can be. Okay? So once it goes into the boiler house, so don't worry if was anything there after being boiled at 100 degrees, nothing will survive that. So it's I can't tell you the quality of the water have no problem. Okay, so once we get that new make spirit, before we can call it whiskey, we need to mature it for at least 3 years and 1 day just to make sure, it's a lab day or a live year or something like that, but well, just to make sure 3 years and 1 day has to be matured in oak wood cask and in Scotland. Okay, after that we can say that single malt Scotch whiskey. Okay, so that's what we're gonna see in this next room. We're gonna see the maturation side. It's about 5,000 casks in there. I'm gonna let the wow moment for you. In here, that's a lot of whiskey going on in this very same warehouse. And as you can see, the conditions on this warehouse, there is no floor, there is in contact with it's grey, it's ground, and the walls are really thick, are stone walls, and all that is to keep always the same temperature, okay? Average temperature inside of this warehouse is about 6-7 degrees all year round, and that is great because while these casks are lying there, it's something happening that is inevitable, is that alcohol tends to evaporate. Nothing we can do to stop it, but if we can reduce the amount, best. Okay, so 2% will be lost in a year. 2% that goes up and is what we call the angels.
As we finished the Blair Athol tour, I'm almost out of battery, so I'll make this quick. Really interesting tour. Tasted not just Blair Athol but another distillery's whisky, obviously part of the Diageo group. Good tour, good amount of money, and really enjoyed it. Now we need to rush off and get the train as usual. Enjoy your journey and see you in the next video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll release a video every month. Bye.